Hi, I'm Shota from Japan,
And I'm Amber from the US.
and this is Kotatsu Club Podcast.
where we talk about all things life in Japan and travel here. Shota, how are you doing today?
I'm good. What's up, Amber?
I'm good. Very excited that it's finally getting warm here.
I know it's almost too warm for me. Like I brought my down jacket, but I didn't even put that on. So it's like what, 15 degrees out?
It's warm for February.
It's super warm.
I remember
now.
being freezing last year at
Yeah, I
this
know.
time.
I
A little
know.
concerning.
How's your kahun?
It's not as bad as last year. Well, actually, I'm sorry. It's not as bad as the fall one. I get really bad kafunsho in the fall.
Really?
I don't get as bad in the spring. I know, it's really rare.
Oh.
It's weird. I'm weird.
Okay.
Kafunsho is, what is kafunsho?
Allergy or what's it called? Fever, hay fever. Is that what it's
Hay
called?
fever. I think seasonal allergies. Is
Seasonal
probably-
allergy is
Yeah.
more natural translation. Yeah, it's a thing. You know, if you spend like a good amount of time in Japan, you know, you're gonna have it too. You know, that's when you know like you've lived in Japan.
It's like one of the like
Unfortunately.
honorary things that happens. To you.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's easy to deal with. You know, like once in a year, once or twice a year, you know, you hit up nose, throat, and ear doctor, and you get medication, and that's all. So
Yeah. Or you could just have Claritin, over-the-counter Claritin works too.
that's true. For the first year, you know, from the second year,
You might need something
you might
stronger.
need something stronger. But anyways, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about visas. Yay.
Exciting! Yay!
Very exciting stuff.
Very exciting topic. As I'm from Japan, I don't know too much about that, so I might be asking a lot of questions to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know a lot of things as someone who has
You
struggled
do.
through the visa system for 4
Yeah.
years. I've been on 2 visas since I've been here. I've actually had 5 visas, but they're two
Different kinds. I see.
Yeah, so I've been on the work visa. That was my first one.
Mm-hmm.
Then the student visa. And then I got another student visa.
Right.
And then the work visa. And then another work visa.
Okay. So let's talk about student visa first.
Yeah, so the student visa is a really good way to get your foot in the door and come to Japan, especially if you don't have a degree yet. So for the work visa, you generally do need a degree.
Mm-hmm.
The other option is having 5 years work experience, but it's really hard to prove that work experience. So
true.
most companies won't even let you come if you don't have a degree because it's so hard to get the visa without it.
Okay. So for student visa, obviously you have to be part of some sort of educational organization.
Yeah.
Can it be like just like a language school?
Yeah, so you can get a visa. That's what I was doing actually. I was going to language school in Kyoto.
Oh, back in Kyoto, right?
Yeah, I did it for about a year and a half. Yeah, they granted me a 9-month visa. So it was a really short visa for my first one.
So you had to extend it.
Yeah, so I just had to renew it once it was up. It's a little limited
Mhm.
because you can only work part-time on the visa, I think up to 28 hours.
But you get to work.
Yes, so you can
Oh.
work part-time. So I was working part-time at a tea cafe in Kyoto while I was living out my Kyoto dreams and studying Japanese there.
Yeah.
So you can work on it and save some money. That work of 28 hours was enough to cover like my rent, but I did have to have savings to cover like travel,
Other things, yeah.
and like just like daily going out with friends and stuff.
20 hours a week, right?
28.
28 hours
Yeah.
a week. Oh, that's
a
actually pretty
significant
generous.
amount,
Yeah. Okay. That's
Is it
great.
the same on? So you were on a student visa in the U.S., right?
I was on a student visa. Back then, that was a long time ago. Back then, that I was only allowed to work 20 hours on campus.
Oh, it had to be on campus. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We can work anywhere.
So I was I was making pitas. Making sweet $7.45.
Did you get
an
free
hour.
food?
Oh yeah.
Or $7 an hour. Wow.
Yeah. But that was a great experience. Yeah, I think working in a foreign country is on its own is very good experience. So I think it's worth it.
I agree. I think I
Yeah.
learned so much Japanese when I was working at the tea cafe because I had to introduce tea in Japanese. Like I had to like talk about it and like show the customers how to steep it and stuff. So I learned a lot of tea vocabulary, and now whenever I go into tea shops and I'm like, 2,000円お願いします. They're like, すごい
I was
上手!
like, how do you know that? Wait, how much Japanese like would you have to be able to speak in order to get a part-time job like that?
So for the one that I had, you do have to at least be conversational. So what my job did is we had like Japanese staff and foreign staff, and we also had Japanese customers and foreign customers because it's Kyoto. There's a lot of tourists. At the time, it was during COVID, so actually all of our customers were Japanese people or foreigners who lived in Japan. So what we did was I would write the script of how to do it in English and give it to the Japanese staff, and the Japanese staff would write a script of how to do it in Japanese, and they would give it to me. And so we would kind of like study together. It was really fun.
Yeah, no. And now I think about it, I think if you're coming from English speaking country, or like if you speak common language like English, Chinese, Korean, that type of things, I think you can kind of like leverage that when you trying to get hired at cafes and stuff like that.
Yeah, especially if you're in Tokyo or Kyoto. Or maybe even Osaka. Yeah, you don't necessarily need to speak a high level of Japanese as long as you can do like basic conversation.
Right.
You can. So something that's really good about Japanese is like there's usually a script. So it's like you say the same thing every time. So it's
better or worse.
Yeah. So it's a little harder when I'm teaching like the Japanese staff on how to do customer service in English because it's a little more wild card.
Yeah, it's more like it's a freestyle, right?
Yeah. Usually the people want to talk to you a little bit more, like foreign customers. But with the Japanese customers, they ended up usually wanting to talk to me too because I'm a foreigner who's speaking Japanese. So they're just like, why are you here? Why do you speak Japanese? In a good way, but so yes, and your school will help you get a part-time job if you don't want to look for yourself. So it varies. You don't have to speak Japanese to get a part-time job. You can get a part-time job teaching English.
Right.
You could also get a part-time job working in a factory making the 7-Eleven food. So if you love konbini so much, you can actually get a part-time job working in the factory.
You eating that egg sandwich? I made that.
Yeah, you can make onigiri. You can become a pro onigiri baker. Like dream job.
Wait, I thought like the machines made it.
No, it's all made by hand. Like
really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's like I think it's a combination of like machine and it's like a factory.
Right.
I've never worked there, but I did have friends who worked there. There's also jobs at hotels. That's another part-time job you get as a student.
Oh, I love that. I love working at a hotel.
You've done it?
I've done it. Yeah. Well,
in Japan?
More like no.
In the US.
In the US.
Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that in Japan, but no, because I was younger.
Right.
Like I was like a teenager.
Yeah. Okay, and you had fun.
Oh yeah.
What did you do? Were you like a room
ripping
cleaner?
off sheets? I cleaned stuff. Sometimes nasty, but. But I think working at a hotel, sorry, like a little bit off topic, but like it's a vibe, you know what I mean?
Right.
Especially like when you with like your like work buddies,
get a camaraderie.
It's really fun. It's a good vibe.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially like like at a hotel, people come to usually have fun. So like all your clients are like in a good mood generally, not all the time, but generally speaking.
Yeah, and the hotel part-time job in Japan is a good one because it could lead to a full-time job in the future.
True.
So it's very hard. So one thing about the student visa, it's really hard to transfer, is that the word I'm looking for? Change your student visa to a work visa because a lot of companies don't want to deal with it. They don't know how to do it. They don't want to spend the money on a lawyer to figure out how to do it.
Right.
So you kind of have to get really lucky and find either a big company. Like I had a friend who went to Rakuten after Japanese language school. And of course, the bigger companies, they have the resources to sponsor visas very easily. Or you do the opposite, which is what I did. And you find a really small company who has no idea how to do the visa and you have to figure it out all on your own.
Yeah, no.
That was so hard.
I've seen people that, well, I mean, you've done that too, but those are both pretty good ways to, obtain yourself a visa.
One more thing about the student visa before we move on to other visas is it is a bit limiting because you can't leave the country while you're on a student visa unless it's a school holiday. So I was only able to travel home to see my family during like Golden Week.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you can't leave Japan unless it's a school holiday. So you can only leave on like you can leave on the weekend, but like who's going to go back to their country on the weekend, right?
Right. Well, unless you're like from like Korea or China.
Weekend trip.
But the government wants you to like focus on your study.
Right. And your attendance is really important. So you have to maintain at least 80% attendance. I think that's what it was. I don't remember exactly.
Sounds about right, yeah.
To stay on the student visa. So if your attendance drops, if you think you're just going to like sign up for language school and show up once a week to get your student visa, that's not going to work.
Okay.
You are going to lose your visa, and they're very strict about it. So keep that in mind. We did have, when I was a student, one student from Colombia who lost his student visa because he couldn't show up to class.
Always the Colombians, I'm scared.
Yeah, definitely go to class and take it seriously if you come on a student visa.
Stay in school, guys.
Yeah, and you'll also get a student visa if you want to get your college degree here. There's some English-speaking colleges in Tokyo, and I think around Japan there's a few.
Yeah.
So you can get your degree here. So if you don't have a degree for a work visa, you can get your degree in Japan, which is something I wish I did.
It's not too late.
Well, I already have. I'm not doing that again.
Career going, yeah.
So yeah, that's the student visa.
Okay.
The one I'm on right now is a work visa. This is one of, I think, the better work visas because it's very habagahiroi.
Right. Versatile?
Yes, it's very versatile.
Versatile. Well, in America, we say versatile.
Versatile.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, I think it's regional.
Yeah, I think we say versatile on the East Coast.
Versatile.
It's versatile or versatil, however you want to say it. So you can work a lot of different jobs. So I was on this visa when I first came to Japan when I was working as an eikaiwa teacher. Technically, on paper, my job title was just kaishain. So it wasn't actually teacher.
Right.
I was a kaishain for a big eikaiwa school company.
Right.
The job entailed not just teaching, but also sales. And like we had like business meetings talking about like numbers and stuff.
Right.
So that's kind of the visa you'll get if you're an employee, usually. And I'm using that same visa right now, and I'm working in social media marketing.
Right.
So yeah, that's probably the best work visa. I can leave the country whenever I want. It doesn't have to be a holiday.
So those are because English teaching and content creation, they're like massively different from each other, but you can use the same visa for them.
Yes, but if you're an actual English teacher, like in a school, you're going to have a different visa. Then you're not going to have the work visa.
Wait, what do you mean by like actual school?
Like if you're an ALT.
So like school.
Yeah, like I worked at an eikaiwa.
Like school.
Yeah, it's kind of like, how do you explain an eikaiwa?
Eikaiwa, like private language
after
institute?
After school. Teaches adults and children.
Cram school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like a school.
No. I think people know what you mean by
yeah. So like a school where kids go. If you're that kind of teacher, if you're an ALT, you have a special like teaching visa.
Right.
So that one's limited because you can only be a teacher on that visa.
Right.
But I think it's not too hard to change between the visas. I remember when I was applying, I was thinking of applying to a job as an ALT after my eikaiwa thing. And they said it was going to be an easy visa change. So
right, okay.
I think it's easy to switch between those two.
So within like work visa categories, it's easier to switch between type A and type B, whereas like from student visa to work visa is significantly harder. Okay.
Yeah. And it was so funny because when I was applying to be a student and I already had a 3-year work visa, which is like a really good visa.
How long are they typically?
So if you're getting a work visa, it's going to be between 1 and 5 years. Yeah.
1 in 5?
Yeah. So,
that's a huge gap.
So my visa, the first time I got it was 3 years. And now when I have it this time, it's only 1 year. And it depends on so many factors. It's kind of like whether the visa gods are nice to you or not. Like you never really know how many years you're going to get. When I first came here, I was working for a very highly reputable. Oh my gosh, I can't speak today. Highly reputable company. So I got 3 years, which is a good amount.
Right.
I think because it was my first work visa, that's why I got only 3 years and not 5. But I think if I renewed it, maybe I would have gotten 5. You never really know how many years you're going to get. Right now, I'm working for a small company that's not as reputable, and they're like foreign owned. So I only got 1 year on this one. And when I renewed it again, I only got 1 year. So that's kind of taihen that I have to keep going back every year to renew it.
Do they usually like accept extension?
Yes.
Generally.
Yeah. Generally, if you're working the same job, like, and your salary, like, you can prove you're getting your salary regularly. There's no issues with the company. It's really the company's finance. Like, that's a big part of it. So I have to ask my boss for like the financial like statement from last year. So I get to see all of the all of the details.
Oh, this company is a sinking ship.
Yes. And then you submit that, and you submit, like, as long as you didn't like commit any crimes, you're probably going to get approved. To get the work visa in the first place, though, you do have to have a company that's interested in hiring you.
Right.
So if you're coming here from overseas, you're likely going to be working for a big English teaching organization or company, and they're going to kind of walk you through the whole visa process and basically do everything for you, just like ask you to provide certain paperwork like your diploma and stuff like that. And that's kind of the best way, I think. That would be my recommendation for your foot in the door into Japan, is to get a job with a big reputable company like Ion. That's the one I worked for, the Eikaiwa school. If you don't want to do English teaching, I heard tech is another job that will hire from overseas if you're a native English speaker and don't necessarily speak high-level Japanese. Those are the two, I think, main industries that will hire.
Yeah, if you're like machine learning, cybersecurity, software, mobile development, that kind of thing. Most of the companies, they do most of written communication in English. For example, my company, of course, between Japanese employees and stuff like that, we of course speak to each other in Japanese, but all the written communications are done in English because all the development is usually done internationally. If they're like hiring internationally, especially. So
yeah, for those of you who don't know, Shota works for a big tech company, but you probably did know that because you probably already listened to his whole episode where we described all of Shota's background.
Yeah,
you listened to all of the episodes. We know. Just kidding. But anyway, so yes, so the work visa. So you do have to have a job that's interested in hiring you. So how do you find these jobs, you may be asking?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, I think
how do you do that?
A whole separate episode on this in detail because there's so much to say. But in short, the way that I found mine is I did a lot of research on Google. Now you have even ChatGPT to help you. I had no ChatGPT to help me back then. I personally made a lot of videos about this on my personal YouTube channel, Amber Japan Travels, if you want to know more. But I basically found all of the companies that hire overseas. I like broke it down into like the top 3 that had the highest paying salary, the most benefits, and I applied to them directly on the website. Usually on the website, there's like work with us. You can click it, you can apply, you just follow the steps. I didn't know anyone. Yeah, I didn't like have any secret door where I knew someone who knew someone. I literally just went on their website and applied directly. I think this is kind of better way to do it than going on these like mass job websites, like
a portal sites.
Yeah, like Gaijinpot. Gaijinpot does have jobs, but a lot of them are hiring within the country. You have to kind of already be here and already have a visa. I mean, there are ones you could get lucky, but my recommendation would be to just apply directly to the companies you want to work for on their website.
Can you like be on a tourist visa because you can stay for 90 days, I believe. So you can get yourself into the country physically and give yourself the 90 days. Can you like switch visa that way?
That's a really good question because no, you can't. You used to be able to.
Really?
You used to be able to. Oh. They changed it, I think before COVID, like right before COVID, they did change it. And you no longer can come here on a student visa and switch to a work visa. You will have to like go do a visa run. Oh. So like go to another country and like you could go back to your home country or you could go to another country that has an embassy of your country. Yes, to get a work visa, if you've never had one before, you do have to...
So you have to come here as a work visa holder.
Yeah, so I applied for my visa and I got it. I picked it up from the Japanese embassy in New York City when I first lived here. And I went to border control and I already had my visa in hand. You cannot come here as a tourist and then switch to a work visa.
So that's a little bit tricky. That's why you recommend like taking that official route, if you will.
Yeah, not even just that though. They set me up with everything. So like they set me up with an apartment, a bank account. Like they really set up your life in Japan. It can be so hard to do it on your own. There's that loophole where you need to get a bank account, you need a phone number, but then to get a phone number, you need an address, but then to get an address, like it's you need a phone number. Like
I had that problem too.
What?
And I'm a Japanese citizen, so like when I initially moved back to Japan, I'm not from Tokyo. If you have watched the past episodes,
which they
you know where I'm from, but I'm not from Tokyo, right? And I didn't have my address, phone number, nor my bank account yet because I left Japan as a child and I came back as an adult. So I had to borrow my like friend's phone number to get open bank account and I had to do all that.
Yeah.
So even, I spoke fluent ass Japanese. It was
fluent ass Japanese.
Well, yeah, of course. I speak fluent ass Japanese and even so, it was very hard for me. So no, I think that's a really good advice if you are coming from English speaking country, especially.
Yeah, especially if it could be a little harder if you're coming from a not English speaking country or what like these companies consider a native English speaking country, because a lot of the ones that are hiring from overseas, they are looking for just English teachers from English. Native. But I think maybe in tech it's might be a little more flexible. I don't think you
for sure. And also correct me if I'm wrong, but like the companies like Eon, they usually hire if you're not a native speaker of English, because I know a few people that are coming from like countries like Germany, Spain, the Philippines, India.
They work for Eon?
Some of them, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do they get hired from abroad or did they get hired locally? Were they here already?
Good question. Yeah. Maybe they were here already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are ones that do hire from abroad though. I think Interact might hire, not Interact, GABA. But I heard bad things about GABA.
Honestly, like I hear bad things about like
all
everybody.
Of them.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah, I've even heard bad things about Eon, but like I think it really depends on which school you are and where you're located.
Yeah, my ex worked on it.
And she didn't like it, right?
She didn't like it at all.
But she was in Tokyo, right?
She was in Tokyo.
I was in the Kochi branch. It was amazing. Highly recommend.
Again, like if you're like trying to work for companies like Eon, I think it's much better to do so in like other region, smaller areas.
And one of the reasons why I chose Eon to apply to is because they let you have a say in where you live. Like they basically match you with a location that you're going to be happy in because they want you to stay there long term, or as long as possible. They want you to fulfill your contract, at least 1 year contract. And they matched me with Kochi, and I got to like look it up and like make sure it was somewhere I wanted to live before I said yes. And if I said no, they would have like waited until another job opening that was a good match came up.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so Eon was really good if you want to choose where you live or have a little bit say. I think most of these companies will just like put you wherever they need you, but Eon really takes into account like what's going to be a good match for you.
Yeah, especially like if it's like more competitive, if you want to live in like those popular major areas, right?
Yeah.
So if you're like type of person like Amber, who wants to live outside of these major areas, I think that's going to like work pretty well for them.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And if like you're like, I don't care what my work life is like, I just want to live in Tokyo, they also have openings in Tokyo. So you can live here. But do note that the Tokyo ones can be a little harder to work for, I think. I don't know why, but I've just heard more horror stories coming from the major cities.
Yeah, you know how you talked about, you're having to like, or like you get to become friends with your clients and that was like a upside for you.
Yeah.
That for people that I know here in Tokyo that worked for Eon, that was like the major downside.
Oh,
for them.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
because there are so many clients and like especially like the male clients, like they're like trying to like hit on you, like follow you around, like get your like Instagram stuff like that. So I mean that could happen. So you have to be, and the Eon doesn't really get it, right? I was like, like be friend with them.
No, Eon was so when I worked for them, I mean, they were so protective about it. They were like, you're not allowed to give your email to things. You're not allowed to hang out with male clients alone. And this is like known to the students. So like they won't try to bother you. So
maybe in the countryside you're like taken care of well.
Maybe it was like a more newly implemented rule. I don't really know.
It's just like a one personal like anecdotal experience that I heard. So yeah, don't take that into account too much. But
and I think it also depends if you want to be integrated into the community, right? Like you have the opportunity when you work in these small communities. Like my students were taking me, like I didn't have a car. My students were taking me around to all of like the major sightseeing spots.
Nice.
One of them took me on like a tour of his farm, like with the other teachers. So it wasn't like just me and him. Like we were with like all the teachers. But it was like kind of for me. They like wanted to show me the farm, and then like all of us went. Yeah, it was such a good experience. I loved all my students and my coworkers. My coworkers are amazing. I still like hang out with them whenever I go back to Kochi. And still like text them once in a while, like, how are you doing?
Yeah. It's a lot more like tight-knit community. And once you like know someone from that community, then like it all like expand out to pretty much everybody. So
yeah. But again, it depends on your personality, right?
Oh, for sure.
I think, like some people might be better suited for Tokyo, but for others, if you're like me, you like nature, you want to join the community a lot, you want to learn Japanese, countryside. But I feel like we're getting off topic. Let's go back to visas.
Okay. What other options would you have? Can you be a freelancer or like entrepreneur?
You can. This one's a little more tricky because you kind of need to have a little money or support in Japan to do this. If you have a certain amount of money in the bank, I think it's like 20,000 USD, maybe 50,000. I don't remember exactly.
20,000 USD?
Or 50,000. I honestly, it was one of the two.
50,000 to do what?
To get a business visa.
USD.
Yeah, in your bank account.
Not 500,000? 50,000.
50,000. Oh, it's actually not.
It's feasible for
it's enough. It's
a lot of people.
An amount you can save.
Yeah.
It's not an unfathomable amount. Like 500,000.
No. Not that I have it on me.
I don't have it. So like it is a little harder because you do have to have some money in the bank. I think an alternative.
Cash?
I think it just has to be in your bank account. You have to prove it. Like you have to like send a copy of your bank account. Even for the student visa, you do need a certain amount of money in your bank to prove you can support yourself.
Yeah, that's standard.
While you're here. But I think it's only like a $2,000 USD. And I just had to send like a copy of like my bank account. Like, this is the money that I have. But back to the business visa. So you either have to have 50,000 in the bank or you have to hire like 2 Japanese employees and be able to consistently pay their salary. That's tricky in and of itself.
Tricky, yeah.
You also, to get a business visa, have to kind of have proven track record of your business in your home country already first. So like you can show that you can do business. But they recently came up with a startup visa.
Ooh, what is that?
It's not available all over Japan. I think only certain cities will offer a startup visa, but you don't have to have all of the capital already. You also don't have to have an office space. I think for the business visa, you have to have an actual office space.
Oh, really?
So that's another hurdle
you have to go over
to get the business visa. So the startup visa kind of allows you a little more leeway where you don't have to have the money yet. You can just submit your business plan. You don't have to actually have the proven track record. You also don't have to have the money in your account yet. But every 6 months, you have to kind of like show the progress of your business. So you actually have to be doing business. Like if you come here and then you end up not doing anything, just think you can have the startup visa. Like it's not going to work like that.
Can you access all the like the government subsidiaries and stuff like that with the visa or not really?
No, you can. It really varies based on where you are.
Right.
But a lot of, especially if you're going into the countryside and opening your business in these communities that they really want to like grow and
like what's her name? Kira. She talked about that.
Yeah. Check out the episode with Kira.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
If you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But she's opening. That's why it was so great. Just kidding.
What?
Just kidding. But she's opening up a business in Japan, and she's working with the local community that's really looking to revitalize. So they're supporting her a lot.
Aggressively.
Yeah, and she also has someone here who is Japanese who's like helping her a lot with the paper. Because all the paperwork, by the way, if you're doing this business visa and startup visa, a lot of it's all in Japanese. So you kind of need to be able to read or have someone who can help you.
Yeah. But I feel like in the countryside, because the reason that we previously talked about, if you're like good at plugging yourself into the community, the network expands kind of like naturally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's like too difficult. It's definitely feasible, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely feasible, but I think just paperwork in general in Japan, it's a lot of it, and it could be daunting and one of the biggest
Downside of
tie
living in
hand
Japan in
things.
general. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So those visas do exist. You can also self-sponsor your visa, but you have to be making like a lot of money. I think that one you have to be making like 200K.
Yeah, I don't think 50K would cut it for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It's making a lot of money. They also came out with a nomad visa recently, but I don't recommend it. Have you heard of the nomad visa?
I've heard of it, that like they're rolling out, but I don't know the details. Why don't you recommend it?
So this one again is only 6 months, and you don't get a Zydio card, a residence card. You get just like a visa. Like, I don't know. You don't get an ID card that's like you're a resident of Japan.
What difference does that make?
So it makes it harder to get housing.
Ah.
And things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really work in Japan, earn money here. You kind of have to have a remote job that you're earning income with consistently. Okay. You have to have a lot of money in the bank. And it's only 6 months. I think you can extend it to 1 year.
Mm-hmm. But after that, it's not extendable?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
I know. I think you can maybe use it again, but you have to have like time in between.
But can you like use that as like a stepping stone into Japan and like switch to like another visa, like within work visa category?
You know, I'm not quite sure about that one. I don't think so, to be honest, but I'm not 100% sure. We forgot to caveat, by the way, we're not visa lawyers. We don't know everything we're saying. And take it with a grain of salt.
What's it called? It's not a what advice. This
is just anecdotal.
It's
experience,
anecdotal.
So take it with a grain of salt. If you know, if anything we're saying it's just like super wrong, let us know in the comments very nicely, very kindly.
This is not a legal advice.
We're not giving legal advice here at all. We are not visa lawyers. Here to share what we've heard. And what we've experienced.
So, but there are other options catered to non-company employee nor student.
Yeah, another one that I know of that I've had some friends on is the cultural visa. Do you know anyone on a cultural visa?
What is that?
Cultural visa. Yeah, this visa you can get up to a year. It's if you're studying some like cultural thing, like if you're studying tea ceremony.
For like anthropologists?
Not even. You can just like want to study like kimono.
Oh, you mean like studying?
Yeah,
like
you could study yakimono, like pottery, I see. Like any traditional Japanese craft that you want to study. If you sign up for a program and you're able to like submit your program to the government and be like, here's what I'm doing, you can get a cultural visa, and you could keep renewing it. Like I had a friend who would renew it every year. So it'd be like 1 year, I think she was on it for like 3 or 4 years.
Oh, wow. That long?
Yeah, she just kept signing up to the same pottery class.
Is it the same as artist visa? Because my boy Brian, he's a filmmaker. He's trying to get a something called artist visa. Is that the same thing?
It's different. It's different. The cultural visa you cannot work on. You can't earn any money in Japan.
Because you're studying.
Yeah, so you're here to study, to learn some Japanese craft and take it back to your country in theory.
Right.
You can't earn any money here legally. You can, I guess, have a remote job from your home country. So that might be good. That might be a good option for some people. I think if you have savings, like you can come here on that visa. But yeah, you do have to actually be a student of a cultural class and be regularly taking lessons.
Are they like widely available throughout Japan? Like, have you heard any of the classes?
I haven't. I don't know in detail because I've never been on this visa, but I had 2 friends who were on it, and they were both in Kyoto, which is like the cultural hub of
capital
Japan.
Of Japan.
So I think like that's probably the most likely place that you will be able to get that visa, but you probably do it anywhere. Like I could imagine someone going to like Tokushima and getting like I think they're famous for indigo dyeing.
Aizome?
Yeah. So yeah, that's one visa that I think is lesser known.
True, yeah, because like you said, traditional crafts, it's like all over. It's like literally in like every single corners of Japan. So
yeah, I think that's a really cool way to experience Japan.
That's one way to do it, guys.
What else is there? I feel like I'm missing some.
One of my friend, she's on tourist visa. She goes to Korea once in 3 months. Because I mean it's like what, like $100.
That's crazy because to get to Nagasaki. It's like Kyuman.
Oh, that's because they're it's there's more traffic come and
going
in
to
between
Korea.
Korea.
And no one's going to Nagasaki, I guess.
I mean, yeah, it's limited, yeah. So yeah, I have a friend who's from Canada. She's on the what's it called, tourist visa.
Right.
She renews every single 90 days. She goes to Korea mostly, but sometimes she goes to like Vietnam and Thailand and stuff like that. I think she's working for a Canadian company, so she gets paid in Canadian dollars.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Well, the dream.
The USD is better.
That's the dream.
But compared to yen,
anything's
to yen. Well, not anything's good.
But,
yeah.
A lot of things.
Except for that Turkish currency. Anyways, I don't know why I single
single
turkey out like that. But anyways, yeah. So I think that's one way to do it, but
there's some complications with that though.
Yeah.
So I think she's actually, we talked about it when I met her recently. I know who you're talking about.
I introduced her to you.
Yeah, so you can only extend your tourist visa, I think, 2 times. So like 90 days. So I think only like 2 years.
I think she's done it for like 2 years, no?
Yeah, I think she's at her max now.
Oh.
That's why she's trying to switch to a student visa.
Ah, that's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one way if you want to come if you're coming from a country like Canada or the US, Australia, that's one way you can do it if you just want to spend a year or 2 here. But again, you have to have the money to be able to do these visa runs where you go to a country that has an embassy of your country, and like if you want to go to Korea, which could be a great option. Like if you have the money, like if you have an overseas job, you'll save a lot of money living in Japan.
For sure, yeah.
Because the cost of living is so much lower here. That is something you can do, and it's probably much easier than all of these other options just coming on.
I mean, especially if you still have the option to, switch your visa to like a student visa or work visa. I think that's going to be like good stepping stone to like get you into country, I guess.
You can network here and then maybe find someone to work with eventually. Or again, you can go on that cultural visa.
Yeah.
One great visa option that Canadians have, New Zealanders have, Australians have.
I know what you're gonna say.
US citizens, we do not have this.
Too bad.
It is the
working holiday visa.
Yes, the working holiday visa is so nice. I think you get like a 1.5 years on it.
For us Japanese citizens, no matter where we go, I think it's only a year. Except for like the UK, I think you can extend it out to 2 years. But basically it's only a year, but you can do whatever.
Yeah,
that's the crazy thing about it.
There's no limits. You can work at like a ramen shop, which I met an Australian girl who was doing that. You can work
that's so cool.
Anywhere you want. The caveat is you can only get this visa once in your life, and again, you have to be under 30.
So you can still apply when you are 30 years old, and you can enter the country for the next year. So you can start at the age of 31 and you can come back as 32 years old. I think that's that's like the maximum. The max. Yeah, I think like after 33 you're kind of like lost. Yeah. That one. Dang it. I'm just kidding. Have you used your working holiday visa? I was going to. I was gonna study in Canada. Oh. Yeah, because I was sick and tired of
the US.
No. Corporate life here in Tokyo back then. So. And I got accepted to this like Canadian school, and I got like everything lined up. Then COVID hit, and then
it's always that.
But it turned out great.
Yeah, for sure.
But so no, to answer your question, no, I haven't used it. So
okay, but yeah, so unfortunately, I don't know why Americans don't have this visa, but we don't have access to it for some reason. I think sadly. You know why? Do you have any theory?
No,
because I just don't know. I guess it's something political. Who knows?
But I feel like
maybe there's just too many Americans
just Japan?
here.
Is it just Japan?
No, we don't have. I don't think we have it anywhere.
Really?
Yeah, we're not allowed.
Well, behave better.
They want us to stay in the country. I don't know. There's one more visa that's coming to mind, and that is the magical, coveted spousal visa.
Oh my god. Well, yeah, that's a visa. That's a visa.
Shota's single, by the way. So if you are out there,
no. I'm not gonna. No.
Jodan. Selling you. So
I want to be loved. Okay.
You're a pretty lady.
No. No.
He's a great guy.
That I am, yes.
So, okay. Anyway, spousal visa.
Hmm.
This visa is very good, but I don't recommend marrying someone just for the visa.
I think that's given.
I think that's a given.
I think that's given.
I don't know anyone who's done that. I do know people who are on the spousal visa, but it's because they like fell in love and got married. And luckily they're able to kind of have freedom in their job. So you can do any job on a spousal visa. You have like the world is your oyster.
Right.
You can start your own business. You can just be a housewife or a house husband. You can literally do whatever you want on this visa.
You can study, work, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's only if you fall in love with someone here, because
what if you get a divorce?
So you lose your spousal visa.
Do you?
But if you're married 3 years, I think 3 years or 4 years, you can apply for permanent residency. So if you have permanent residency and you get divorced, you're fine. You can stay in the country.
Oh.
So I actually know someone who got married for a visa, but he was a Japanese guy living in Europe and he wanted to stay in Europe. And so he got married to one of his friends and they ended up like falling in love. It's almost like a TV show or something, or like a movie.
Yeah, there's an American movie called Green Card.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But like don't they like interview you? Like what shampoo does she use? Or like
really?
what toothpaste does she eat that, you know?
Okay. I don't really know. My friend was coming from a country in Europe. He was Japanese. Like, I think they were good friends, so they might have been able to answer those questions. But they did get married for the visa. And they almost got divorced at some point, but then they like worked it out. And then they ended up falling in love and like moving to Japan, moving back to Japan together. And like it ended up working out. Yeah. So maybe you can get married for a visa. Who knows? I don't recommend it. But that is a visa that exists that we should mention.
Yeah.
Then there's the artist visa.
Oh.
We didn't talk about that yet.
Oh. You know about that?
Not that much. I do know that it's like only 3 months and you have to like keep
renewing
reapplying.
It? Oh, okay.
So that's the only problem with that. And I think you get a similar visa. It's like entertainment visa if you're like a model or an actor.
Entertainment visa.
Yeah. Oh. It's like a 3-month visa. It's basically, I don't know why you would apply this visa because it's the same amount of time as the tourist visa.
Why don't you just get like a work visa?
I think unless you're working for a company, if you're just like someone in an agency.
Also, those are like freelancers, freelance artists and models and I don't know, singers and
I don't know. I know that there's like modeling agencies that are like kind of give out these or sponsor these 3-month entertainment visas, and you can keep renewing them. Like you don't have to leave the country every 3 months like you do if you're on the tourist visa. You can renew it while you're in the country, so you can just like. But it's such a pain to renew your visa. Every time I have to do it, I have to do it once a year, and it's still like too much.
Yeah, it's like filing tax, you know.
Yeah, it's like that. Daunting. It's just like massive like paperwork pain in the neck, and it's a paperwork quest. Like you have to like go to all different places and collect all different paperworks, and then like complete the level, and then you can go to the big boss, which is the immigration. So if you are on one of these visas that is only 3 months and renewable, it's a pain, but it's doable. It's possible.
What's so like special about it though? Like what can you do with it?
On the entertainment visa, you can work in the entertainment industry. So you can be an actor in a show. You can be hired and paid in Japanese yen. Okay. You can have a bank account. Like it's a visa. It's a regular visa. Okay. So, but it's just only 3 months, which is so short. Honestly, that's a little too short. So yeah, I think that covers all of them that I know about. If you know about any ones. Oh, I think there's also the special workers one. So if you're like
special worker.
Yeah, it's what is it called? It's like a special. It's if you have like 10 years of experience in a certain craft, like a chef. If you're a chef, you've graduated from a really good school, you have 10 years experience and you're going to come work in Japan, you can get a special working visa and it kind of fast tracks you to permanent residency.
Really?
It's a lot of points towards permanent residency. And permanent residency, I feel like we didn't explain that. Permanent residency is like you don't have to give up your citizenship. You don't become a Japanese citizen. You can't be a Japanese citizen you can't do dual citizenship in Japan.
In Japan, yeah.
So you can't legally. I mean, some people do it. You can't technically have 2 passports. You have to give up your nationality if you want to become Japanese, which most people don't want to do. So you can just get permanent residency.
Yeah.
So you can't vote, but you can live in Japan permanently.
You can't vote and you can't work for government agency nor become like politician or prime minister.
Right. So
if you don't want to do those,
if your dream is to become prime minister, maybe
too bad. Too bad.
Of Japan. So yeah, that's another visa. The special, I don't know the exact name of it. Maybe we can like look it up and like write it here. Maybe I'll just look it up right now.
Like a highly skilled visa.
Oh yeah, that's it. It's the highly skilled professional.
Highly skilled professional visa. Something like that. Something along the line of that.
It's a newer visa. And again, it's if you want to become like a chef or something. You can't just come if you like graduate culinary school. You have to have like 10 years experience. It's
under your belt already.
Hard to get.
Yeah. But if you are that type of person, that's gonna like put you in a fast track to permanent resident. That's what you're going for. So it's an option.
Most people who want to live in Japan long term are after the PR, permanent residency, so we can live here without renewing our visa.
Because it usually takes almost a decade to obtain it, right? To apply it.
Yeah, usually you get points. It's a point system. So like you get a certain amount of points if you've passed JLPT N1, N2. Like there's different point system.
Right.
If you have a master's degree, you get points. If you've lived here for like 10 years, if you're married, you get points. Like there's all these different things.
Yeah.
And the skilled worker, that visa gets you a lot of points. So.
I see. That makes sense. And I mean, generally speaking, Japan's like going through, it's always going through, massive labor shortage. I think if you're like, put your mind to it, I think you can figure something out, honestly.
For sure. I agree. There's always, where there's a will, there's a way. But anyway, if you have any questions for us, leave them down in the comments or send us an email at kotatsuclubpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any corrections for things we said, because again, we are not visa lawyers,
no, not
leave
at all.
those down in the comments below because we definitely probably said some wrong things.
Oh, yeah,
so
we definitely have.
Anyway, thanks for listening, guys.
See you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Peace.